New college radio DJs during the 90s, hosts Keith and Steve helped expose bands like Nirvana, Pavement, and PJ Harvey. They went to shows, interviewed musicians, and reviewed albums for various designs and papers. They worked security at concerts and once even did load-in for Fish. Now, they're dads. Whether you want to explore lesser-known music or take a trip down memory lane, tune into the New Dad Rock. Join hosts Keith and Steve as they navigate the ages together, sharing their love of music across various eras and genres. Always well-intentioned, often well-informed, seldom boring, the New Dad Rock will expand your mind.
I'm already recording. Get ready to groove to the iconic beats and melodies of 1978 as the New Dad Rock takes you on a musical journey through this influential year in music history.
1978.
Join Steve and Keith as they explore the diverse sounds that define 78 from rock anthems to the disco craze that swept the nation. This special episode is a celebration of timeless classics and groundbreaking moments. From the Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever soundtrack to Van Halen's self-titled debut, 78 was a year that offered a little something for everyone. The hosts delve into the albums and the bands that left an indelible mark on the industry, making it a year to remember. But it's not just about the music. Steve and Keith dive into the cultural events and stories behind the songs, offering a unique perspective on how 78 influenced the world. Whether you're a fan of classic rock, disco, or any genre in between, this episode promises to be a sonic feast for your ears. Welcome to the New Dad Rock, and relive the spirit of 78, a year that rocked and danced its way into the hearts of music lovers worldwide.
Welcome, Earthlings, to the New Dad Rock. Keith, that was quite an introduction. I know earlier in the season we said we were going to actually let you know what the episode was about at the beginning, and we did it.
Oh man,
good on us.
I was in the car today driving Milo to laser tag in Westchester, not Westchester, Westchester, about 30 minutes away. And every Friday, new albums come out. I always earmark a couple to give a listen to. I put on A$AP Rock's new one, Integrated Tech Solutions.
Okay,
it's really cool. It's really minimal, weird beats, and then he just raps his style over it. And then Miles like, has that been the whole song the whole time? And I'm like, oh, you want me to turn this off? He's like, no. He just thought it was like one continuous song for like 20 minutes because it was so weird and foreign.
Yeah. So I didn't know he had a new album out, and he's been around like 20 years. I remember listening to him in the aughts. It was definitely not what I normally listen to, but you described it well, I think.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna say A$AP Rock is married to Rihanna, but I always confuse A$AP Rock with ASAP or A$AP Rocky, who is indeed married to Rihanna.
Yeah, on the just surface level seemed like a weird combination because he's a little more not underground, but a little more low key. I would say a little bit. Anyway,
a little bit. All right. Well.
All right, so
what's new?
I was going to say, I guess that's the what's new category. And have you heard of anything else coming out? In the news, maybe?
In the news? Well, something old was in the news. I guess it's a new old thing. The Grammys came out, the 2024 Grammy Awards. They came out with all their nominees. And in that was Jeff Magnum for Neutral Milk Hotel. He was up for his first Grammy ever.
For what? He hasn't had any new music in like almost 30 years at this point.
The collected works of Neutral Milk Hotel was nominated for Best Box for Special Limited Edition Package.
Okay. So what is that, like a CD?
No. Nope. I think it's about... It's on Merge Records right now. It looks like it's $158. And it's, I don't know, is it 8 records? It's got On Avery Island as a 2 LP.
Okay.
It has In the Airplane Over the Sea as a gatefold LP. It has Live at Jittery Joe's 12-inch picture disc.
Okay. So it's 4 records there. 4 pieces of vinyl.
Everything is 10-inch.
Okay.
EP.
I love the 10-inch.
Ferris Wheel on Fire.
All right. There's
10-inch.
There's 6 and 2 10-inches.
Yeah.
I like it.
Little Birds Live with the backside Little Birds Demo 7-inch. And Little Birds is a new song. I mean, it's actually, I think, the oldest song, but it's new as a release.
Got you.
To the
humans. So 7-inch
is
is like a regular single.
Totally. And they also have Halen 1945 with Engine on the back.
Oh, nice.
As a 7-inch.
Nice.
Yep. And then finally, you have You Passed with Where You'll Find Me Now as a 7-inch.
Wow, so 3 7-inch singles, 2 10-inch records, and 4 full-size 12-inch LPs.
Yep.
For $160. That's not a bad deal.
Oh, you get 2 24 by 24 folded posters you can hang in your garage.
Oh, nice. I have some large posters in my garage, including by our overbears, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. That's their update for this week on what the King Gizzard is, or what the Lizard's doing. I have a poster of them in my garage.
That's cool, but I just bought tickets to their show. I think that's bigger. They announced their tour, for 2024 tour, and I got tickets. Pretty excited. I got 4 tickets, so you should come out.
That's exciting, man. I might go. Yeah. We'll see. Isn't it
August 27th?
Yeah, I have 2 kids going to college in August, so I don't know what my plan is for August. Maybe I'll see them in Boston.
Wait, where's the second one going? You don't know yet, right?
We don't know yet. Tis the season.
I don't know yet, or you don't know yet?
No one knows.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No one knows.
I see. Because is one of the colleges you applied to Villanova? No.
Yes, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Let's get going.
All right. So, that's in the news. All right. One new album. We haven't done a lot of new albums, I feel like, lately. So, one new album, and this isn't exactly new. It's from May. So, still pretty new, though. And we weren't really doing shows in May. And I didn't really listen to this album until like a month ago, is Pere Ubu, Trouble on Big Beat Street, which Pere Ubu, if the name sounds familiar, it's because they've been around since, guess what year their first full-length album came out, Keith?
I feel this is a trick question, but I'm going to go with 1978.
1978 is correct. In fact, they had 2 full-length albums come out in 1978. Oh, okay. And... they disbanded here and there, but they've got 20-ish albums out. The most recent, like I said, Trouble on Big Beat Street, came out in May this year, and it's really good. It's solid. One of the things I'll say about Pere Ubu, and I'll give you a chance to opine on them as well, is their music sounded timeless in 1978. It was almost its own style, and it certainly influenced a lot of bands that you and I both really adore. And their new album is more of the same. So if you've picked up a liking to them somewhere over the last 35, 40 years, you're probably going to find a lot to like on this new album. And I'll highlight a couple. Worried Man Blues, which is, the narrator. It's almost like a spoken word style. He stops at a Popeyes, that's at the famous crossroad where Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil. And he pulls up, and Howlin' Wolf is working the drive-thru, and Bob Dylan and Muddy Waters are working inside managing the store. It's pretty hallucinogenic. And there are a number of very interesting tracks on that album, and I've been enjoying it on my commute lately. So that's what's new. That's a new release. But Keith, I know you have some backstory on Pere Ubu.
Yeah, I think I saw them too in the early 90s, but maybe it was the late 90s. Either way, my favorite album by there is Story of My Life. I think it came out in 93. The first song, Wasted, We Were Wasting Our Time Away, Wasting, is really, really awesome. I even sent it as a Slack message to a colleague talking about our planning process.
Yeah, well, that was probably good feedback. Yeah, I remember that album because you played it, and that was the year we were roommates. So I know that album, and to contrast with your style is I like this song Postcards, which is, it's a driving, monotonous, repetitive beat, almost on a loop. It's like, just chugging along as you would be like driving down a highway. And in the background, you hear Dave Thomas, the singer, saying, "I sent you a postcard, came right back." And then, it repeats on a loop throughout the song. and he's just spoken word reeling off cities and the description of the front of the postcard and where it's from. And, I always remember the way he said, Du Bois, in reference to Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
It's not Dubois.
It's Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's on 80,
right.
On the way. It's like past Penn State, actually.
And that's how they pronounce it?
It's how you pronounce it. It's actually,
weird.
a little bit further west,
French.
but mostly due south of Geneseo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's cold out there.
Right now it is.
Oh, man.
But I don't know. I think Para Ubu is music for a cold night, though. Like, you've got the guy whose vocals... I think at the time, in 1978. So this band started out as he was a critic in the Cleveland, of all places, scene in Cleveland. So also a cold place. So from this Cleveland scene, this band called Rocket from the Tombs started up. And I don't know that they ever released an album. Maybe they had a single or two in their lifetime, but they split up into the Dead Boys, and two guys stayed in Para Ubu. Dave Thomas, he was the only one that would live another 2 years. So he was in the band, and he's been the leader and consistent driving force. He's essentially synonymous with Para Ubu.
He's the one who sounds like David Byrne when he sings?
He sounds like David Byrne, but he also sounds like Captain Beefheart, Angelo Biafra, and Tom Waits.
Tom Waits. So, I would use Tom Waits as the other reference because of the sound of the music.
Yeah.
Like Carnival.
There's definitely a Carnival tinge, and his album Carnival of Souls, which came out in 2014, I've also listened to. That's a pretty fun one.
Steve.
Yes.
I Want to Be Sedated.
Did that come out in 78?
It did. By the Ramones. I Want to Be Sedated came out in 1978.
Yeah. So, as you can see by our focus in 1978 on Para Ubu, punk rock had arrived in 1978. We've been talking about how classic rock has been polished to a sheen and kind of fell in on itself. You could say, is rock dead? I'm sure that phrase was going around at this time.
Is rock dead? Wow, because that's happened again in our lifetime. But we'll talk about that more later. I mean, Saturday Night Live Fever comes out, the movie, right?
Saturday Night Fever.
It's a cultural phenomena. Soundtrack hits #1 on the Billboard. So disco's Jump the Shark. Elton John appears on the Muppets. And, and then The Who, their final performances that in 78 as well.
Who?
So, like the classic, The Who. Yeah, you got me there. You got me. Right, the classic rock is literally dying. And, yeah. And then this new thing, Van Halen happens. Their first album happens in 78.
Which is...
What's the story behind that?
I think Van Halen 1, I think it's their best album. Like, they had been kicking around the scene for, 4 or 5 years. They used to be called Mammoth. Gene Simmons tried to get them signed to no avail, but by 78, they'd been tight. So, back then, they're a live band. They've been playing parties. They've been playing barbecues. They've been playing clubs in Southern California. And finally, after polishing their songs for 4 years, they came up with like half an hour of music and put it down on Van Halen 1. And then, because they didn't really have that much on the album, they threw on a cover of You Really Got Me, The Kinks, who from what I understand, I don't think they like that cover. Anyway, so that comes on and becomes a huge hit. And Eddie Van Halen's Eruption, where basically tapping hit the mainstream. You've played that before, right, Keith? Eruption?
No, I'm a horrible guitarist like that. I can't do leads. But yeah, I mean, he's still on, that's the problem with guitar magazines, electric guitar magazines. Van Halen's like a headline in every episode still.
Hey, man.
Every issue, yeah. What's on that album? Van Halen 1?
Well, there's Running with the Devil, You Really Got Me, Eruption, Ain't Talking About Love, Jamie's Crying, Ice Cream Man. I'm forgetting.
Really
it really has a ton of everything.
Really
And honestly,
Well,
I think of the David Lee Roth years, Van Halen 2 is my least favorite because I think they blew it all on the first one.
Oh, it's quite possible. The sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Super famous.
But then, Fair Warning and Women and Children first, and Diver Down to a lesser extent, and then 84, of course, are all awesome.
Yeah, I'll listen to more of that as we get into the 80s next season.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about some of these bands, though. Guns N' Roses being another LA band, a Motley Crue, LA band, Jane's Addiction, LA band, they're bands where the first couple albums were really unique, and maybe they even just stopped after a couple albums.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, and you're right, like, they're bands that played out, they're playing, like, every night, they're living for it, they're young, and then, they have all their first songs, and they put them out.
Yeah. Well, I think Rat I would throw in that, and Motley Crue as well, because Quiet Riot, all of those bands were just, either just forming or just about to form, or the kids in the band were learning how to play instruments, listening to this punk rock that had really kind of cut through the corporate, overproduced, 6.5 minute to 12-minute suite by Pink Floyd taking up a side, or Yes, or Emerson, Lake, and whoever. All of these bands just bloating to be overtaken by these short bursts of energy. That's the LA, the Sunset Strip scene that Van Halen ushers in 1978.
Those have been very, very fun shows to go to.
Yeah,
so would have the Sex Pistols' final show was in 78 in San Francisco's Winterland Ballroom. And, the Dead Kennedys, they played their first concert at the Mabuhay Gardens in July of 78.
So the Dead Kennedys, Jello Biafra, a very similar voice to what came out of Dave Thomas, who is not the founder of Wendy's in this case. He's the singer of Para Ubu. They both have that wail, that banshee, like, I'm an insane person.
It's a Carney Barker. It's a Carney
but they're
Barker,
clearly you're not sure they're fully there. Definitely insane sound.
Definitely not.
Which is probably why I'm drawn to it.
Yeah, I'm beginning to understand. Like, Butthole Surfers is also on your side.
Oh, Butthole Surfers is right there. They are definitely neck and neck.
And Tom Waits. I mean, I like some Tom Waits stuff, and I get it, but I don't listen to it. I don't put it on. I don't put it in my title.
I had Tom Waits on today while I was working from home today. Today, as we're recording this being Saturday, I was working from home and had my...
Was it...
I had...
Black Rain?
No, I played Alice, which is
that's
one of two
early,
albums that came out in 2002.
Oh, it's late.
Yeah, it's based on a play, which is an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland.
That's neat.
But that's a little bit later. Because I think Tom Waits gets very interesting in the early 80s. So a little sneak peek of the 80s episodes coming at you on the other side of the new year coming up.
I mean, he's already, by the way, in 78, he's at least in his fourth album. In 78, Blue Valentine comes out.
Yeah.
But Nighthawks at the Diner, which was pretty famous, came out in 75.
Mm-hmm. And Closing Time.
So,
he's like a chameleon sheds his skin in another album or two. And
Swordfish Trombone, 83.
That's where it is. And I think that trilogy Rain there Dogs. Really cemented his status. And I really... I think we'll get into much more detail on that, or at least reference it in the years coming. So back to 78. So at this time, you talked about the disco. On the other side, you had CBGBs was promoting punk at this time, and Blondie, The Police. We talked about the Talking Heads, the Ramones. Hundreds of bands were coming through that venue, which is very small, by the way. You could probably only fit...
It was small. 200?
Yeah. If you could, if there were 200 people in there, it was a bar. If there were 200 people in there, it was very crowded and sweaty and smoky. You would not have smelled it when you left.
Dude, I saw Cop Shoot Cop there.
Yeah, I saw Alice Donut there, and then I interviewed them.
Do you think the Village People played there?
Probably.
Possibly. Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because their song YMCA came out that year.
Yeah, I mean, disco is there. And one other thing that I feel like we really haven't recognized much is the Caribbean sounds, the ska sounds, reggae that gets worked in, and you hear it in the Police, you hear it in the Clash, you hear it in bands like the Specials, but you even hear it in one or two of the Para Ubu songs. There's a little snippet where you're like, oh, it's very interesting. And also at the same time, I think you have the little bit of revival of the 50s, the Saturday Night Fever, the Grease, the Happy Days on TV, Laverne and Shirley. All of these shows are hearkening back to the 50s, and you've got that little bit of a 50s sound coming back into punk rock, into, bringing into that surf rock, Link Ray kind of style.
Oh, yeah. I Want to Be Sedated. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I Want to Be Sedated sounds just like that. Or a Green Day song. You know what song I think sums up all the sounds put together that you're talking about? Le Freak.
So chic.
Yeah, it's got everything in it, right? It has the funk, right? It's rock. It's got attitude. It's kind of punk in its own way, Another guitarist who's very similar to that had his first song that year, Prince. His first single was Soft and Wet, 1978.
Of course, that was the name of it.
Soft and Wet. Yeah, and Eddie Van Halen came out with his, tapping. There's some real guitarists on the scene at this point.
Yeah.
Fun. You know what I think song is most indicative of 78 for me? Though I didn't know that till this episode.
What is it?
Rock Lobster.
Rock Lobster, 1978, huh?
Yeah, well, no. It was a big song for me in high school because I associated with the new wave girls I had crushes on.
Yeah, who didn't?
So it's probably 88 or 89.
Okay. Well, they were popular then because of what was it? Love Shack?
Yeah, I actually think that was after. I think so. That's the thing. So, right, so when I'm first listening to WLIR and then it becomes WDRE, which was like the new wave channel on Long Island FM radio, these were the songs that were in rotation. So I just thought everything kind of came out at the same time. Like, for me, I didn't know that songs were from, or, you're young. You don't give a fuck what year it came from. It's just a song. But so Rock Lobster, for me in my life, was important 88, 89, but it's actually from 1978.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about timeless songs. And we look back over the ages, through the ages, and find these songs that stand the test. And I think Para Ubu does. I think Van Halen does. And of course, Rock Lobster does.
Oh, the call just ended. What happened? You hung up on me. Your battery died?
So,
I'm calling you back.
Hello there.
Did you hang up on me?
I hit my phone. Yeah.
All right. Hey, so Rock Lobster.
It's a brilliant song. And I love the Richard Cheese cover of it.
John Lennon credits this song with re-inspiring him near the end of his career.
Interesting.
All right. So what do you think the most important thing in 1978 was musically for you?
I don't know. I'm not quite there. I'm not quite cognizant of what is going on because for most of 1978, I was 5 years old. So I knew some songs that I had seen maybe on Sesame Street. So the one where they count to 12 really fast. I knew that one. That was cool. I think I had a Monster Mash tape at this point, so I had some funny, goofy songs like Purple People Eater and Big Bad John and Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini.
No, these are bringing back memories when I was 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was 78, but there's a good chance it was.
You know what was 78 though?
Hawaii 5-0.
And this song you heard, whether you liked it or not. Oh, that too. But The Gambler. No, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers came out in 1978.
Well, Keith, on that note, I think we should know when to hold them, and perhaps it's time to fold them.
It's not a bad idea. I got called waiting going. You've hung up on me already at least once.
It's probably me calling you on the other line.
All right. Well, thank you, dear listeners, for going back with us to 1978 when we were 4 and 5.
I love 1978. And I can't wait to finish out these 70s and get into the times where we were listening before we became the new.
Yeah.